Hi guys, today I wanted to touch on the three types of stress and what they are. So in our lives, humans experience stress. We all experience stress, and that is a part of healthy brain development. It's part of building healthy stress receptors, and it's part of kind of learning how to self-soothe and calm ourselves down in later life, especially when we are children. However, there are three types of stress, and these three types of stress do affect brain development long term, especially when they're experienced or when the last two are experienced in young children and babies. So the first type of stress that I want to talk about, number one, is healthy stress. Healthy stress is stress that we all experience growing up, and even I would say as adults day to day, we experience types of healthy stress that help us to overcome obstacles. They activate our stress response in our bodies, and we learn how to cope with being elevated with stressful situations. This might be something like having to talk to someone you don't know. It might be getting your bills in the mail. It might be a stressful situation while you're driving. So what healthy stress is short-term stress, so a short-term trigger of stress that is quickly de-escalated and that we overcome quickly. Number two is a stress that's called manageable stress, or I call it manageable stress. Other people might have other names for it. Manageable stress is, we'll talk about childhood. So manageable stress is something that we deal with in childhood. For example, it might be a death, it might be a loss of someone, it might be having to move homes, it might be having an illness. These are manageable types of stress for a child that has a structured and supportive system. So what this means is a child who has a healthy attachment to a parental figure or an adult who experiences something that's not quite a healthy stressor, but a slightly larger obstacle and a more stressful obstacle that does definitely activate some of those glucocorticoid responses in our body and our receptors. A child who has a healthy attachment, who feels supported and has had healthy brain development, which we kind of get into this field of epigenetics, which I won't get into in this video because it's really complicated, but a child who's had healthy development, healthy attachments, who experiences a type of stress that might be prolonged, but has a healthy support system in their family and they know that they're supported, can overcome that stress. And that's why it's called a manageable stress. The third type of stress that can be experienced, and that is not experienced by every human being, but is experienced by some children, is called toxic stress. Toxic stress is what it sounds like. It is a prolonged stress response in our body. Toxic stress is often caused by neglect. It can be a result of parental addictions. It can be a result of being left alone for long periods of time. Toxic stress can be experienced by kids in foster care, in all sorts of situations where they may not have healthy attachment. Toxic stress leads to a child being overactivated and chronically feeling stressed and in survival mode. What this means is children who constantly have cortisol and adrenaline running through their bodies, who are elevated, and do not have a support system or anyone to lean on, a way to deal with the toxic stress that they're experiencing. Kids who have experienced toxic stress also quite often have not had someone who gives them what I call, or what is called, serve and return. So interactions that are showing them social cues that a child does something and they get feedback from an adult. Quite often, kids who experience toxic stress don't have this in their lives, or they don't have a consistent attachment figure. And so, toxic stress over time, there are studies now to show, lead to things like physical illnesses. They lead to mental illnesses over time. They lead to kids not knowing how to self-soothe or how to cope because they're constantly used to being in this elevated state. Those are the three types of stress. I wanted to just make a short video explaining what they are, and I will make further videos that go more in depth into how we deal with toxic stress over time, ways of coping, how to know if you've had toxic stress in your life. I do suggest downloading my guide on mindfulness and anxiety reduction if you are someone who you feel has experienced toxic stress and needs some coping strategies for self-management and self-soothing. And don't forget to check out my page and all of my links below. Thanks so much for watching, you guys.